I normally don't. Holy shit. I normally don't post content.
Girl, I am so sorry you have to go through that. I have been right where you are now. I was on 120 milligrams of Accutane for a full year, which is a incredibly high dose. Everybody always tells you that when you first go on it, you're going to go through like a purging phase towards the beginning when your oil is just getting purged from your skin. And they say that it goes away and you're done with that like after 2 months of taking it. When you're purging, your acne is like twice as bad as it was before you even started taking Accutane because it's pushing everything out all at the same time. I purged all the way through month 6. So not even till month 7 did my skin even start to clear up. And even though it was one of the worst experiences of my life, I am happy that I did it because now I feel like I can go out in public and not have to worry about what my face looks like. And I still got the scars and everything to prove it. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm going to be talking about a topic I've been meaning to get around to for a really long time, but I actually haven't sat down and like made the video. And I feel like it's super relevant, and I get asked questions about this like almost as much as I get asked questions about fitness on my social media, and that is Accutane. Now, for those of you who don't know, Accutane is basically an acne drug. It's basically high dose vitamin A that your dermatologist will prescribe you if you have a terrible case of acne or incredibly cystic acne, like I had going through high school. And I started, let's see here, not December, it was last fall that I actually started, and I ended up pretty much doing Accutane for a full year. So up until this fall, I was on it, which is an incredibly long time to be on Accutane. And I get so many questions about it because people want to know what it's like to lift on Accutane. They want to know what it's like to bodybuild on Accutane. They want to know what the side effects are. They want to know how to deal with them. They want to know what happened to me when I had it. How did it affect my muscle building? How did it affect my mental state? These are all kind of the questions that I get. But I stumbled across this video of this poor girl on TikTok. It popped up in my For You page, and she's just crying, and she has terrible cystic acne just like I did. And I came across that video, and I made a video response on TikTok just to sort of try to comfort her. And I was like, you know what? I get asked about this all the time, and I still haven't sat down and made a full YouTube video about it because it really was a massive part of my life, and it has had a massive impact on my life. So the first thing I want to say is I'm not a dermatologist, so if you guys want access to this, I don't recommend buying it online. I would say go to your dermatologist, request it. It is definitely a drug that you will want to get regular blood work with. So I got my blood work checked every single month. You want to make sure that all of your organs are functioning properly on it, because if you're in the fitness space, I always tell everybody that Accutane is like D-ball. So the extremely potent oral steroid, but you pretty much get none of the gains and all of the side effects. And that's definitely not 100% accurate. Like D-ball is definitely far worse for you. But just to give you an idea of, you do want to be checking your blood work very, very regularly while you are on Accutane. So if your dermatologist is not having you do that, you might want to consider switching dermatologists, because Accutane is extremely potent. You want to be monitoring yourself. You want to be increasing the dosage incrementally. You don't just want to nuke yourself right out of the gate. And I'll talk about purging and going through all these different phases in my mental state while I was on it. So when I first started, I had tried a bunch of the what do you call them? I had tried a bunch of antibiotics already, like doxycycline, minocycline. I had tried multiple different kinds of remedies for months and for years. Like, I've been struggling with acne since I first was like a freshman in high school. I think that's when it first sort of started to set in, and it just kind of got consistently worse as time went on. And so I decided I had heard about Accutane for a long time. I knew how terrible the side effects were. I knew how terrible it was for you, and I pretty much decided, you know what? Let's just do it. Like I probably should have done this a while ago. Let's hammer down and just try to get this whole skin thing taken care of, because honestly, I myself was getting to a point where it affected my confidence very, very heavily. It was always something that was sort of nagging at my mind whenever I would go out. Whenever I was hanging out with friends, whenever I was eating out at a restaurant, whatever I was doing, I was conscious of my face, and I just absolutely hated feeling that way. I hated the thought that somebody might be looking at me and sort of judging me for like my face. And it's really funny because I would post stuff on TikTok all the time. You know, I've been doing TikTok for years now. I post stuff on YouTube, and not only do I get tons and tons of hate, or not only would I get tons and tons of hate for my acne, but I would get steroid accusations as well, because along with steroids ultimately comes acne, and I'm a natural bodybuilder, so I do not take PEDs, but the amount of hate that I have gotten throughout my short career of bodybuilding is just, it's amazing. Like, as soon as people saw my face, they would just rip into me. As soon as they realized that I was claiming to be a natural bodybuilder, they would rip into me saying that I was lying about it. And it didn't help. Like, it definitely didn't help my argument trying to convince people that I was natural, having like a literal pizza face. But like I would run into like some funny situations. Like I remember like there being multiple times when like there were these little kids who would like point at my face and say like, "Oh my gosh, like what is wrong with you?" And I'm just like, "Oh my goodness." I'm like, I need to get this taken care of. And ultimately it really started to degrade my mental health, like the worse that it got. Like I wouldn't really want to go out when it was super bad. I would have to make sure that like if I did anything to my face, it was right before I go to bed or I went to bed, so that my inflammation would sort of die down. Just because it was really, really bad for a while. My face looked extremely puffy and red, and I got awful cystic acne beneath my jawline. So this one, you couldn't really see it when you were looking dead on at me, but it was the most painful kind of acne I've ever had. Like, and when it would pop, it would be like black, like dark blood that would come out of it. So super, super cystic, and I struggled with that for a really long time. And that was the reason for that, the under chin cystic acne, was actually what pushed me to be like, okay, I need to do Accutane. This is bad, because it was leaving massive black scars all along my jawline underneath here, and they were so incredibly painful. I can't tell you. If you are somebody who struggles with this, like I pray for you every single day, because it is not fun to go through at all. Like you are pretty much in constant discomfort. And a lot of times you're in a lot of pain trying to deal with them. So I finally decided, you know what, I need to go on Accutane. So I went to my dermatologist, I got my original blood work done, and they started me off on 40 milligrams. Now on 40 milligrams, you start to get like some of the side effects after like 3 weeks. And the main side effects that I pretty much experienced, so I live in Bozeman, Montana, where it is one of the driest places you'll ever be. And I started in the fall, and then I was on it all the way through the winter. So it was not a good experience, because what Accutane does is it pretty much takes away your body's ability to produce like massive amounts of oil underneath the skin. So it's trying to get rid of cystic acne, and it takes away like your body's ability to do that. And when it does that, it basically just attacks the glands, and so your oiled glands just pretty much stop producing. Your skin just becomes incredibly dry. I'm talking like I would shed like a full layer of skin on some days. Your lips become extremely chapped, and when you're somewhere where it's also super dry, it's super cold, I would get these massive cuts in my lips that would bleed for a really long time, because also with Accutane, it's having this effect on your skin that doesn't allow it to produce the right amount of oil. So your skin also does not heal. like your skin does not heal the same. I have tattoos. You're not allowed to get tattoos while you're on Accutane. You're not allowed to get it like after for a substantial amount of time, just because your body's ability to heal has been so limited by this drug. And so I would have these massive cracks in my lips. I would shed full lips. There was one point where I just remember like grabbing onto my lip and I just pulled off like a full layer of skin, and my lip was just raw underneath it. Sorry if that's graphic, but it wasn't pretty at all. And so, one of the things going into it that I would really recommend to you guys is I hate putting on moisturizer. Like I don't like it. I've had a naturally oily face like my whole life, and so putting on moisturizer, I always hated doing it. I hated it for multiple reasons, but I cannot recommend moisturizer enough because I figured this out like a couple months into my Accutane treatment. I figured out if you put on tons and tons of moisturizer, your skin will heal much, much faster, because for the longest time I was taking Accutane and the dermatologist told me to use moisturizer, but I was like, screw moisturizer, I'll just take the dry skin. But what I didn't realize was that the moisturizer actually helps your face heal so much faster. And so as soon as I figured that out, I was putting on moisturizer like 4 times a day. I'd have to do a full body coat after every single one of my showers because I would get these itchy spots on my neck, on my legs, like just out of nowhere. I would just like get this this red sort of like inflamed rash somewhere that I would just start itching, and like my skin would be like falling off. So it wasn't a great experience. My neck was the worst. Like I would be falling asleep at night and my neck would just be extremely itchy. So after I started, fully moisturizing everywhere multiple times a day, it really helped my acne actually like cycle through faster, because when it comes to Accutane, how the dermatologist always refers to it as there's like a purge phase where basically your skin is like purging all of the oil to get it all out. And pretty much what that meant for me, it looks different for everybody. That's pretty much what I figured out. But what that looked like for me was my acne was the worst I've ever had in my entire life for a solid 3 to 4 months after going on Accutane. So I went on Accutane thinking that it was gonna make my acne better. My acne got like twice as bad. Like it has never been that bad in my entire life. And this was what my dermatologist called the purging phase. And my dermatologist told me, you know what? She prepared me for it a little bit. She said, you're going to experience like this purging phase for like the first 2 months or probably, so it's probably gonna get a little worse before it gets better. I purged all the way straight through like month 6. So, and for the longest, this was a massive impact on my psyche, because I was thinking, oh my gosh, like this isn't working. I'm gonna have to go on it again in the future. It's not actually gonna get rid of my acne. Like this drug just isn't working. Like that's what was running through my head for like 4 straight months after month 2, because I just continued to purge. My acne continued to get worse. It was absolutely terrible for the first 6 to 7 months. My dermatologist told me that I was a hyper processor when it came to vitamin A. So pretty much what that means is that they bumped my dose up substantially. And depending on, I guess, how you process vitamin A, it will depend on your dosage. But by the end of it, so they bumped me up incrementally. I went 40 milligrams, I went 80 milligrams, and ultimately they bumped me all the way up to 120 milligrams, which if you're on Accutane, you know that is an insanely high dose. Insanely high dose. And I was getting my blood work monitored the whole time, but pretty much that my dermatologist, that was her reasoning. She said you metabolize vitamin A very, very well. She said your body takes it in and then does a good job about excreting it, because ultimately it is toxic. So your body, you want to be able to excrete it, but you have to eat it with a fatty meal to make sure that you're absorbing as much of it as possible. But she said you aren't absorbing very much of it because your body just likes to is good at getting rid of the toxic amount. And so she's like, pretty much what we have to do is we just have to bump your dose up even more. So that is the reason why I ended up being on 120 milligrams. So my skin was extremely dry. I was extremely itchy. When I finally started putting moisturizer on, it saved my life. I have, let's see here. This is one of the things that also saved my life as well. If you do not have Aquaphor, and I'm not talking about like the sticks, and I'm not talking about chapstick, because that, like, chapstick only goes so far. If you actually want to like deal with your lips well, this is what I started using. It's the Aquaphor, but it's literally gel. So you squirt it out, and I'd rub it on my lips. I'd stick it on my finger and I would rub it up my nose, because one thing that happened to me, another side effect, was atrocious nosebleeds. And when I say atrocious, I mean like borderline almost dying a couple times because my nosebleeds were so bad. I would probably get 6 nosebleeds per day while I was on Accutane because of the combination of the dry air outside and like just incredibly dry skin. So I started, and that really helped me out. Taking the Aquaphor gel, literally, like, I know it's gross, but spread it like up inside of your nostrils. I would do that like twice a day. I would put a massive amount of Aquaphor on my lips before I go to bed, and multiple times throughout the day. As soon as my lips like felt anywhere exposed, boom, it would be another layer of Aquaphor, because like my lips were in so much pain. Like, it was brutal. The massive cracks that you would get in them that just ultimately like didn't seem like they would heal. So I would try to keep my lips completely covered in something, whether it was chapstick, if that's all that I had on me, or Aquaphor. That helped out a ton. So I hope that if you are going through similar symptoms, be very aggressive with treating these symptoms. Don't avoid moisturizer like I did, because moisturizer is literally your lifesaver, even if you hate applying it like I do. All right, so now we're getting a little bit of the more like lifting side of things and a couple other side effects. So some of the main things that they warned me about when I first started taking it, number one was joint pain. And I've had a lot of friends that have taken Accutane, and so they told me, you know, you got to be careful, dude, because the Accutane, it destroys your joints. You're gonna absolutely hate it. And my dermatologist told me, you know, you might even need to stop lifting for a while, which, if you guys know me, lifting is my life. Like, if I can't lift, my mental state decreases so rapidly, it's crazy. Like I am literally existing right now because of the gym. And like that is not a joke. I'm being 100% serious. I'm not exaggerating that. That is a literal fact. Like, without training, without working out, like, I would not be here today. And so that just goes to show like how desperate I was to go on Accutane, was that I was like, even if it gives me terrible joint pain, I am still going to do it, because like I need to fix my face. I'm sick of feeling like this. And pretty much what I experienced with the joint pain was none of it. I didn't get anything. Even though all my friends had reported that to me, my dermatologist told me that I would get bad knee pain. I never got anything. I never got any joint pain, period. I felt like I recovered like fairly well. When it came to lifting, Accutane actually had pretty much no effect on my lifting. I still felt like I built muscle just as well. I did a full bodybuilding prep and a bodybuilding show while on Accutane. So it pretty much didn't affect my lifting career at all. And that's one of the main questions that I get being a bodybuilder that was on Accutane. They're like, how did it affect your lifting? It didn't. I had pretty much zero joint pain. But I mean, yeah, I think that a lot of people, when it comes to quite a few of these symptoms, they have a problem because they have a problem with the placebo effect. It's kind of like a reverse placebo effect, because somebody will tell them like, hey, you're gonna get terrible joint pain on this. And then they'll start taking it, and then their elbow will kind of start to hurt, and they'll be like, oh, it's the Accutane, when their elbow would be hurting even if they weren't on the Accutane. It's not actually Accutane, they're like overtraining or something like that. I feel like that's a common thing, especially with a drug that has so many possible side effects. I think that some people kind of get lost. So there was a while there when I was going through and I'm like, like my knees feel a little stiff today. Is this from the Accutane? I was like, well, my shoulder feels a little stiff today. Like, is this the Accutane? My elbow, like I was trying to sort of diagnose it, but ultimately I decided that it wasn't really affecting anything, because even at my highest dose, I didn't notice anything substantial. All of my joint problems had to do with overtraining, mostly. And so I didn't have any effect, so hopefully that's good news for any of you guys that are lifters out there. I continued to lift, I built a ton of muscle, I gained strength, all that type of stuff, and I did a full bodybuilding prep naturally while I was on Accutane. So the other main side effect that I wanted to talk about was just your mental state, and I think that like when you take this, they tell you to really watch like your mood and like how depressed you get. And I've definitely struggled with mental health in the past. And it's been something I've pretty much struggled with my whole life, and it goes through ups and downs, I think, just like a lot of young men out there. But the thing is that it was really hard for me to distinguish what, no matter how hard I tried, it was extremely difficult to distinguish like what depression was being caused because of the Accutane and which depression was being caused by the fact that it's the middle of the winter. I'm normally depressed in the middle of the winter, just depressed for normal life reasons. It was very hard to tell. So I feel like a lot of people, their doctor tells them like, hey, this can make you very depressed, so watch out for that. And then they start taking it and they're like, oh my gosh, like I felt so depressed on that, when they would have been depressed if they hadn't have been on it. But then again, I feel like it affects everybody differently. If that's one thing that I've figured out about Accutane, is that, you know, side effects do vary based on the person. Like some people will get joint pain, and I didn't at all. So as far as the mental effects go, I went through some really big mood swings, some really big up and downs, and a lot of irritation pretty much the whole time I was on it. But it was very hard for me to pin down whether or not it was actually the Accutane, or if I was just being that way because I was gonna be that way. So it's very tough for me to tell. I do believe that it did have an effect, but I don't know to what extent it contributed to those side effects, or to those feelings of depression. It's very hard to tell. I try to take a step back as much as I possibly can and like evaluate it, but I would say the main thing that I think that it did increase was just my irritation. I just felt like I would get really irritated about like very basic things that I would not normally get irritated about. So as far as the depression, it probably had a little bit of an effect, but I probably would have been depressed anyway because of my situation at the time. But the biggest thing that it probably affected was like was getting irritated, which was not very much fun. That was pretty much my consensus as far as the mental state side of things goes. I think that even though Accutane is like a very intense experience, and often a very negative experience for people while they're on it, like obviously like my face is so much better. My acne hasn't started to come back or anything like that. I still have scars. My skin still isn't great, but like not having cystic acne is I love it now. Like I feel like my skin is amazing, even though somebody else might look at me and say, you know, he's got scars, he's still got a couple like pimples and whatever blemishes. Like I don't care about that stuff at all. Like I just literally wanted to not have terrible acne, and that worked very well for me. So ultimately it was a very positive experience, but while I was on it, it was definitely very hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, especially when you literally purge for 7 full months and it gets worse and worse and worse, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, like it's just not going to work for me. And this is a very, very important thing too. I think that if you have a good dermatologist, they should know that once your skin is clear, it doesn't mean that you should just stop. Once your skin is clear, you should probably continue to stay on it for a couple months afterwards, just to make sure that everything, like your body can't produce that cystic acne anymore. Because what I find with a lot of people, and what my dermatologist told me, is that they would be on it for like 4 to 6 months, and then they would just come off. They would just come off of it, and then they would end up getting, their acne would end up coming back, and then they had to go on it again. So making sure that once you get to a point where your skin is pretty clear, that you maintain your dosage for like a couple months at least, just to make sure that you only have to take it once, because the studies are showing that taking it once for a longer period of time is far more effective than taking it for a short span of time multiple times in a row. Helamix, code beat on. Now I'll go a little bit into like sort of some sappy stuff as far as like my acne goes. So I've struggled with it for a very long time. Like I said, it's been a very, very real cause of pain in my life. And I really struggled with self-image for a while. But sort of what I learned and sort of what I was able to take away from the whole situation is that like amidst those challenges where you feel your most insecure, amidst your biggest insecurities, you can find true confidence. And I worked on this so hard, and I think that it really has helped me out. When I was going through all of this, even though I tell you what, I was going through it when I first jumped on, and before, you know, I even went on, like it just had a massive, massive impact on my mental state and on my overall well-being and on my life. Amidst your biggest insecurities is where you can find true confidence. It's just like, you know, being brave amidst fear. Like, does courage actually exist if you aren't scared? Like, not really, because it's not courage. So amidst your time of biggest fear, that's when you can be the most courageous. Amidst your time of your biggest insecurities, that is when you can show true confidence. And if you can learn to like love yourself and be like a confident person amidst all of that, you will be so much more successful in life. And that is just what I have found. Basically, getting good at being able to look your insecurities like dead in the eye and just telling them to like fuck off. Because the better that you get at that, the easier your life will be. And like so many people hit these roadblocks and they just set them back so far. Like people don't want to go out. Like they don't want to go out on dates. Like that was one thing. When I was going through this, I made a note to like go up and talk to people, to approach women, to pursue women, to go out on dates, all that type of stuff, even while I was going through all of this. Because ultimately, like your confidence is what matters. And I tell you what, like it pays off like crazy. Like confidence is king, no matter how stupid that saying sounds. Confidence is one of your biggest assets. So the better that you can get at it, the better that you can get at overcoming your insecurities and performing and becoming a better person amidst all of that, it is truly life-changing. So if you are somebody on Accutane, I seriously encourage you, practice your confidence. It is a muscle that you can work. When you've got the most insecurity, that's when the resistance is highest. So you can build that muscle the most. I hope that this video helped a lot of you guys out. I don't want to go on for too much longer. This is already an incredibly long video. Holy crap, this is long. Thank you if you stuck around all the way till the end of the video. I wish you luck in all of your Accutane adventures. Be sure to drop any comments down below if you guys have any. I will try to answer them. And use code BEATON on Young LA Rise Supplements if you guys want to support me. Follow me on Instagram, subscribe, turn your notifications on. yeah, I really hope that this video helped a lot of you guys out there. Because I know that I would have loved to have some sort of breakdown like this before going into Accutane, so I would kind of know what to expect. So have a great one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.